Oh, hi, welcome to Riel. Thanks so much for joining me here today. My name's Claire, and my husband Jeremy and I run this channel to show you what our lives are like here in Siem Reap, Cambodia. We've been living here for a little while now, and this will be the third cost of living video that we've done. At the time of making this video, it's late August 2024. We can't see anything much changing in the foreseeable future, so we believe that the numbers that we're sharing in this video will be valid for the rest of this year and probably into next year as well. We've included a lot more detail and a few different categories that we haven't included before because we think they're important. The beauty of it is that if it's not relevant to you, you can just subtract it from the total and your cost of living will therefore be lower. All right. All amounts that we're going to be talking about today are in US dollars. Of course, I'm Australian and Jeremy is too, but the minute our money leaves Australia and comes into Cambodia, it becomes US dollars, and that's how it's easiest to think of it. So, yes, everything in US dollars. When we go through the different categories in the cost of living, there will be three figures. The first figure is what Jeremy and I pay as a couple for the different categories. The second one would be what we think one person would pay for the same standard that Jeremy and I have. And the third one is going to be what we think would be the lowest common denominator, or the lowest that you're going to have to pay in each of the categories. Of course, we haven't lived with that kind of low level cost of living ourselves, but based on what we know living here and what we know things cost, we can make an estimate that we think might be useful to people that are coming on here on smaller social security payments or things like that. Before we get into the actual categories, just a word on transport. So if you want to buy a bicycle to get around Siem Reap, which is a good idea because it's flat and very easy, you can buy a city bike, which is one of those ones with the basket on the front and not a mountain bike. They start secondhand at about $50. If you want to buy a motorbike, they start at about $200 for a 50cc Honda Today that's secondhand. Those are great for getting around town as long as you're a reasonably small framed kind of person. You can spend anywhere up to about $2,000 is going to get you like a decent recent model 125cc bike. So those are the ranges for transport if you want to buy your own. Without further ado, there is going to be a lot of talking in this video, and I do apologize for that. The first one is an essential category, and it is the category of visa extension. I'm assuming that you already have your visa and you've come into the country on an E-type visa, which is a long-term extendable visa, and you are looking for either a retirement extension or a business extension. Those cost about $300 per person per year, and if you divide that by 12 to get the monthly cost, it's $25 per person. No need to explain that any further, I don't think. If you are coming here to retire, you can forget about this category, scratch it out, because we're talking about the work permit. If you're on a retirement visa, you don't need one of these, but if you're on a business visa, you should also have a work permit to accompany that. So they run at $180 a person per year, and that includes any supporting documentation that you may need the visa extension company to provide for you. That breaks down to $15 a month per person. I'm going to leave the contact details of two agents that we have used in Siem Reap ourselves for visa extension services, and they've both been great. So here they are here. I'll also put links to them in the description of this video if you want to check them out. All right. Next up, now this is a tricky one because it's very individual based. So insurance. We pay $540 a year each, roughly that, and it breaks down to $45 a month per person. Of course, it's highly dependent on your age, pre-existing conditions, how much cover you want to have, whether you want to have a co-payment, all those sorts of things. So that's what we pay. I'll just put it out there. We use a company called Safety Net. They were referred to us by somebody who had a claim with them for a motorbike accident that he had. We've never actually claimed on it ourselves, so I can't really say any more than that. Okay, I'll leave the website there if you want to look into it, and also in the description of the video. Okay, I'm moving right along. Kind of related to that is health. Now, what is better than a cure, you might say? Well, prevention. Yes, so if you have something that you think is a bit of an issue with your health, it's best to go to the doctor and deal with it sooner rather than later, because the longer you leave these things, particularly in the kind of climate that we have here in Cambodia and Siem Reap, things can get much worse very quickly. So as soon as you notice that you have, let's say, a skin infection or something like that, go to the doctor, get it dealt with. deal with it at its small level, and you will end up having a faster recovery, and you won't have to pay as much either. So having said all of that, we're allowing $15 a month per person. Obviously, many, many months go by when you don't spend that, so it can just sit there and kind of accumulate for those months where you may have a bigger issue to take care of. It's very cheap to get medications, blood tests, anything like that that you might need while you're here. Okay, moving right along. Coming up now, we have rent. So Jeremy and I live here in this lovely 2-bedroom villa, and we've lived here for just over a year now. It's probably the longest we've ever stayed in one place. As you know from the from the apartment tour videos that we've done, we've lived in loads of different places over the years, in Siem Reap, in Kampot, in Kep, in Phnom Penh, so many. So it says a lot that we're in this place. We really like it. We think that the price is excellent. $300 a month is what we pay for this. If you are a single person, it's much less likely that you're going to be in a standalone house. Possible, obviously, but less likely. So we estimate that to get a similar standard, either 1-bedroom or studio to this, is going to cost you about $180, let's say. At the lower end of the scale, you can also find rooms for as little as $50, and recently we've even seen fairly decent ones advertised for $40. People often ask us whether the prices of rentals have increased recently, and I just want to show you a couple of instances to prove that they actually haven't. There's a glut of houses and apartments here, and finding a place to live, as Dave Does Cambodia always says, should be the least of your concerns. It's absolutely not going to be a problem finding a place to stay, no matter what your budget. All right, so we lived in this apartment. You might remember the tour that we did of that one. We paid $160 for it. It is being advertised, the very same apartment right now, for $170. We lived there back in 2021. So allowing a bit of room for negotiation of price, it's probably even cheaper than it was then. Similarly, this one that we lived in near Tapple Road, we paid $175. It's currently advertised for $220. So very little increase once you take into account the increase that they put on it to allow the negotiation. So I would say have no fear. Rentals are plentiful and the same price that they've always been, at least since COVID. All right, next up we have electricity. We allow a round figure of $100 for electricity for the month. We never spend that much. It's usually around $60, but we just allow $100 just in case. And that way, if we do tend to have a month where we use more, we don't need to feel bad that we've gone over the amount that we've set. So we set a higher one and allow ourselves that luxury when we want it. Probably if you're a single person in an apartment, the rooms might be a bit smaller and you're only one person, so you're air conditioning only one space at a time, whereas occasionally we might have 2 air conditioners running at once. That's why we say that $75 for one person to achieve about the same level of comfort. We've got a video about how to keep your costs down with electricity in a hot climate like Cambodia. I'll leave a link to that one in the description as well. Next up is mobile phone. So this is really, really cheap in Cambodia, much cheaper than it is in Australia. It costs us, I think it's only $4 each actually for the month, but I put $5 each and rounded it up to $10 just in case we wanted to have extra data at any point. So it's very, very inexpensive, $5 per person across the board. There are 3 main carriers in Cambodia, so there's Cellcard, Smart and Metphone. They're very, very similar. Okay, so next up we have internet, a very, very important category because we need internet like we need air, everybody does. So now that we live in a house, we have our own connection here and that costs us $20 a month. It's nice and fast, it does everything that we need it to do. If you're a single person, you are most likely going to be living in an apartment and you're most likely going to be using the internet that comes with the property. So that's why there's no cost for those. What do we have next? Okay, water. So if you are in an apartment, water is often charged at a flat rate of $5 per person. So we put $5 because that's the most common amount that we see being charged. We pay by the amount that we use because we're in a house, and we put $5, although our usage is usually like $1 or $2. We just put $5 to round it up so that it's a nice kind of even number to work with. Okay, next up we have the category of groceries. And in groceries, we are including food that we buy to prepare at home. We're including cleaning products, washing powder, soap, shampoo, all of those sorts of things. So Jeremy and I have a bit of a rhythm where we tend to have breakfast and lunch at home that we prepare ourselves. And then for dinner, we either go out and have it at a restaurant or we order in delivery. So included in this grocery section is any of the food that we have for breakfast and lunch and snacks that we have on hand in the house. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So we've said for a single person, the same standard is obviously going to be about half that. And the lowest, we'd say, because you're probably trying to spend a bit less money, you might be preparing a bit more food at home. So we've allowed $100 in that lowest category for groceries. Right. Food delivery and going out. Now, I have to tell you before we start on this one that we don't skimp in this area. If we want to go out, have a few drinks, if we want to go out and have a nice meal, we do that. So that's why this one is a little bit high at $450 for the two of us. And we said, obviously, one person for the same kind of standard is half that, so $225. And we've said that even if you're here on a very, very low income, we're still allowing you $100 a month to go out, have a few drinks, have a nice meal, see friends, because that social element of going out is very, very important to your health as well. All right. Next up, we have Grab and PassApp. Sometimes we don't want to drive the bike if we're going out and we're going to have a few drinks, or if it's raining, or if it's whatever. We're allowing $20 for that. Of course, it's the same whether you're two people or one, so that's $20. At the lower end of that budget, you're probably not going to be spending money on Grabs and PassApps, although you might spend $1 here or there. Next up, we have gym membership. So there are a number of really nice gyms in Siem Reap now. There has been a bit of a boom in new gyms arriving on the scene. And Jeremy has spent some time at Maru Gym talking to those people there and getting a bit of a deal going for you, our viewers, who might want to go and use a gym that is air-conditioned, brand new, first-rate equipment. That's going to run you about $39 per person per month. So for us, $80, for one person, $40. So there are outdoor fitness parks that you can use and take advantage of. There are also local gyms that cost $1 a go. Now we have the miscellaneous category. This is for stuff that comes up. Let's say you need a new shirt, or you want to buy a pair of shoes, or something breaks and you need to replace it, whatever, you want to buy something for the house. We're allowing $100 a month for this. Single person, we're saying $50 and $15 at the lowest level, because these things still come up and sometimes you need to buy stuff or replace things that break. This is a fun category, travel within Cambodia. We have put aside $250 for the two of us for a month to do things like visit other cities around. One person, we're saying about $100. And this is really great because every month, in this same budget as Jeremy and I have, you can go away once a month to a different city or place within Cambodia and see something different. Within that $100, let's say you spend $15 each way on a bus ticket, so that's $30. That means you've got $75 left for accommodation. You could have 3 nights in a really nice hotel for $70. So for $100 a month, you're having a trip away for 3 nights to experience a different part of the country. That's absolutely fantastic. Motorcycle maintenance. Jeremy and I have a bike each, so we're allowing $20 for this per month. We often don't spend any money on the bikes in a going month, but we just allow that so that when there's a bigger expense, the money is there to cover it. One person, obviously one motorbike, is going to cost you $10. And at the lower end, we are not putting any money there because you might not have a motorbike. Okay, that brings us finally to the totals. It is so hot in here. Totals. So the two of us, Jeremy and I, spending money on all of these things, doing everything that we want to do in Siem Reap, in Cambodia, costs us $1,795 for the month. That's for both of us. One person, for the same standard, doing all of these things that we talked about, $930, so under $1,000. People say, can you live here for $1,000, $1,000 a month? Yes, you can. And I've showed you, hopefully, how that is possible and how You're not going to have to scrimp. You're not going to have to sacrifice anything much at all to do that. In fact, you will have, at that price, a very, very nice quality of life here. At the lowest end of the spectrum, $395. So I'm bringing you in at under $400 a month, and you are still having a lot of the things that we talked about. So as you can see, living here is very, very cost effective, and it's cost effective at the lower end, but also in this kind of mid-range where Jeremy and I kind of find ourselves. We have, I keep saying this, but our lifestyle is wonderful, and it really is fantastic to be able to live here and do all of the things that we do and have it come out at $1,795. Absolutely wonderful. I'm really interested to know what you think. Are you, if you're planning to come to Siem Reap, are you planning a budget that's higher than that, lower than that? If you live here, how does our budget compare with yours? Do you spend more money or less money? What kind of different things do you spend money on? Really interested to hear about it. Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear. Okay, I'm going to sign off here because I've been talking for too much and for too long. It's been great. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.